Hi everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Sane Gamer. I'm your host Michelle Madison, aka Coastal Michelle on Twitter. Also one of the hosts of the Video Game Outsiders podcast, which is probably where you're listening to this because you've downloaded our app, so thank you. If you did find this show on YouTube or somewhere else, you can get our free Video Game Outsiders app on iTunes and Google Play and check out this show and a bunch of other shows from me and my co-host John. And also check out my Twitter and videogameoutsiders.com if you want to know more about me or some of the other shows that I do. So I didn't really know what I wanted to get into this week until I kind of just instantly opened up my news feed. And it was like, wow, there's like literally 5 things that I think are stupid and want to get off my chest. So I figured I'd do another episode this week already because there's some stuff that's been bothering me. And one of those things was, of course, a Polygon article, which is probably going to be featured a lot. And I'm not even trying to give them attention. It's just that there's so much, unfortunately, one of the major gaming publications. And whenever I pull up any sort of gaming news feed, there's always a Polygon article in there. And it's just sort of unavoidable at this point. And I know they write this stuff to kind of get both sides, right? Because they get the support from the people who agree with them. And then they get people like us who are a bit more sane and like get angry about it. So we talk about it. So I know I'm eating and feeding, they're feeding me garbage and I'm just like taking it and spewing it back out at you guys, but I don't care because this sort of stuff annoys me. And what I'm talking about is the Ghost in the Shell 9-minute clip criticized for having predominantly white actors. People have noticed there's only one Asian actor in the entire clip. So I know that when Scarlett Johansson was cast as this character, there was some outrage because she's not Asian. And she sort of said, listen, this is basically a character who is raceless. They are a robot. They're a human brain and a robot, and they don't have like a race that you should ascribe to them. So just watch the movie, give it a chance. And she also sort of touted how she was a bit of an outspoken feminist, and she said things that go against the grain before. And if she really thought something was going on with her movie, she would speak up about it. Now, either she has a double standard when it comes to her own work, or probably all of this crap is bullshit, right? Now, I haven't seen the movie, obviously. I mean, there's one Asian actor. I don't know. Maybe it was just in the clip. Either way, I know that this is still something that doesn't necessarily make a movie racist. There's all sorts of things reimagined with different races, right? When, what was the name of that Wizard of Oz that Michael Jackson was in? Was that just Oz or something? Or I forget the name of it. But nobody said, oh, you blackwashed that. That was a white tale or something like that. That took place with a little white girl in Kansas. And so there's nothing wrong with celebrating things that come from other cultures and then reimagining them in your own. But I think when we're talking about robots too, it's important to pay attention to that like this is kind of not a race. Like, it's not supposed to be about that. Like, her race being white or Asian doesn't have any impact on her character. It's not like she's talking about growing up struggling in a home and having parents that were immigrants or anything like that. It's really just a robot that's conflicted for other reasons that really have nothing to do with race. Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite movies have like all Asian characters, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and I don't say that's been Asian washed. What's the term for that? I'm sure we have Asian people listening. What's the term for Asian washed? Can I say yellow washed instead of whitewashed? I mean, I don't think that's racist. Asians usually have really nice skin. Anyway, it says, one of the biggest controversies surrounding the live-action adaptation of Ghost in the Shell is the whitewashing of the film's biggest roles. In the new 9-minute clip from the movie, those fears aren't exactly alleviated. It starts with the Major, played by Scarlett Johansson, waking up in a medical chamber before moving over to a mission involving the members of her cybernetic team, Sector 9. So they talk about how in the entire clip there are a plethora of white faces. Johansson's is the first we see, followed by Juliette Binoche, Peter Ferdinando, and some other white actor that they didn't know the name of him. But in 9 minutes, they only saw one Asian, Beat Takashi, who plays the chief of Sector 9, which is the Major's boss. And apparently, though, the PlayStation blog editor or leader over there, Rupert Sanders, said it was important for the entire team to create a multicultural world. The vision for this film was to create a multicultural, multi-ethnic future world, but not one that is pristine or idyllic, but rather one in which the lines of humanity have blurred so much to the point that people and technology have combined to create something new and not yet defined. So they're not really a race, I guess he's sort of saying. It's not really defined in the same way we define things. So the Polygon writer, author, blogger, whatever they are, goes on to say that the issue is that people are pointing out that they are not honoring the original Japanese culture that Ghost in the Shell belonged to. One journalist broke down some of those complaints on Twitter, which can be seen below. Now, this is Daniel. That's just, he's a confirmed Daniel. That's his name. He got like Twitter authorized as Daniel. That's at Sofa Kissin. Let's talk about the whitewashed train wreck that is Ghost in the Shell. If you still want to watch the movie, beware of spoilers. Spoiler. The movie argues that Scarlett Johansson is actually Japanese. The whitewashing is a plot point. It still leaves me speechless. Hold on, I gotta click on this guy. I gotta see if he's actually Japanese. I guarantee he's not. No, he looks like he's from Germany. So if this was a Japanese guy who was offended that they didn't do his culture right or something like that, I'd pay attention. This is a German. Okay, then should I read it in a German accent? The movie argues that Scarlett Johansson is actually Japanese. I can't do German. I need John here. The whitewashing is a plot point. It still leaves me speechless. Spoiler. The plot twist is that Scarlett Johansson is the brain of the Japanese girl Motoro in the body of a white person. Spoiler. The plot twist is that Scarlett Johansson is the brain. Wait, why are they listing this 3 times? Like, literally, they have his same tweet. Did he keep tweeting this? All right, here's another one. The peak of the absurdity is that they even cast a Japanese actress as Motoko for a flashback, but you never see her face. Okay, so maybe this character was Japanese when she was human, but because they're putting her into some crafted robot, all of these robots sort of look the same. And Johansson's character may not necessarily be white. It could very easily be Hispanic or Asian, because her character is sort of very porcelain skin and black hair, and they did her makeup in a certain way where everything was sort of like race, like it just. I'm saying her features and the way she's done up in it are they're made to be like a robot. She's not made to look like any certain race or anything like that. Like, she's made, I think, to look like an android, which is a bit fitting. And I don't necessarily ascribe races to androids. I don't say about my computer, I've got a black computer. When I boot him up, I talk to him, and we have common interests. Wait, I'm not black, so that makes no sense. But whatever. Maybe we talk about music, because I used to like Hot 97 in 1999. I'm dating myself, but when I lived on the East Coast, I mostly listened to a predominantly black hip hop radio station. So that would be like me saying, yeah, I talk about the old days with my computer because it's a black computer. Nobody thinks about races when we're talking about AI. And that's essentially what this character is, if it's still has a human brain, but it's in some robotic body. So this guy's really angry. I don't know what the Germans are trying to overcompensate for. Anyway, the Polygon blogger says both Sanders and Johansson have spoken about the whitewashing controversy before, but they defended the changes that we're talking about the movie and the actors cast in them. Diversity is important in Hollywood, and I would never want to feel like I was playing a character that was offensive, Scarlett told Mary Claire. Also, having a franchise with a female protagonist driving is such a rare opportunity. Now, see, this is the thing when we start to combine offenses and we say, well, it's okay because it's one or the other. And I talked about this a little bit on VGO last night when we were talking about Mass Effect. It's like everybody, some sort of minority group, they all kind of get together and it's all against one person at that point, and it becomes very tribal. So it's like, well, what is the one group that we think has never been discriminated against? I know, white men. Let's everybody get together against them. Women, every single race or religion, or not religion, but nationality that is not white, ethnicity. Let's go against, and I guess religion could count, because I know Jewish people, there was sort of a debate about that, because they were saying the top 1% people are not white, they're Jewish, the majority of them, which is interesting. And some people were saying, oh, well, let's go against, we can't be attacking white men for this anymore. And people want to divide everybody up into all these little subgroups and just try to find that one group, that they can all gangbang. And I think that that's what's going on here. So Scarlett's like, well, it's okay because it's a female character. You don't get to play a strong female character often. So, it doesn't really matter what's going on. So it's like trying to win people over on your side. I just thought it was kind of a transparent comment that was stupid. But I don't really think there's anything going on with this movie. I watched the clip and I didn't have a notepad out tallying out the races that I saw. And it's just a very weird mentality. To me, I was just so like, yay, this seems interesting. I love watching stuff. I love sci-fi. I can tolerate Johansson as an actress, maybe not as a person, but I kind of was excited for it. I didn't tally out really any of the races I saw, especially not ones that belong to androids or, creatures that were grown and made and crafted in a lab, whatever the story is, like I said, because I haven't wanted to read much about it to spoil anything. So I don't know, maybe you're Asian and you kind of wish she was cast as an Asian, or maybe you're kind of cool with it and you're an angry German blogger who is pissed off. I think that's usually more likely the case, that you're trying to overcompensate for some sort of guilt that you didn't do, and it's just and blaming everybody else for your issues. So that was that. I look forward to seeing this movie. Like I said, I hope it's good. But one of the reasons why people start tallying stuff like this is something I briefly mentioned last week, that this is big business. Now, the Project Cars 2 developers have hired a pro Gamergate critic as a consultant. And this is something like everybody I know who's in different areas of business have all told me that they have to interact with these consultants, these diversity consultants now, everything they do. I have a couple of friends who are artists. I have a couple of friends in the game industry. I have a couple of friends who, even people that work in like weird stuff like real estate and things like there's, everybody has a diversity team, okay, and diversity consultants, at least out here on both of the coasts where I know most of my friends, either on the East Coast or the West Coast. So I'm sure it won't be long before it starts infiltrating in the Midwest. But the Pretend Race Cars website is known for the sim racing community and being unrelenting, unforgiving, and remorseless when it comes to critiquing, criticizing, communicating past and present racing sims. Well, imagine the surprise when it was revealed that one of the Pretend Race Cars' biggest targets decided to bring out one of the biggest critics as a consultant. Austin Ogonowski was one of the Project Cars' biggest detractors, taking developers Slightly Mad Studios to task for things that they got wrong and things that they promised but didn't do, and the issues that came up with the community and many other websites that he didn't even bother reporting on. Well, Austin and the rest of the crew of Pretend Race Cars have been sponsored by Slightly Mad Studios, and they were also offered consulting work to help provide feedback on Project Cars 2 for the home consoles and PC. So, after we interviewed Ian in July of last year, he began seeing PRC in a different light, genuinely appreciating some of the lengthy, critical posts about Project Cars written by myself or anonymous reader submissions, and we began conversing in a somewhat productive manner, wanting to progress my own amateur racing career beyond Econox. Well, I don't know what's going on here. Eco Box Racing, and with Ian needing a creative way to promote his upcoming game, which will now be known as Project Cars 2, a sponsorship deal made a surprising amount of sense. So, go on a forum and bitch that it's not diverse enough, get hired by the company. Now you're a part of their consulting team. That's great. How the fuck does a car game need a race consultant? I'm confused. Was it sexist? Are the cars sexist? I'm very confused. I guess I should read some of this idiot's posts and see what issues he had with them. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to close this article and pretend I didn't see that. Okay, so here's another writer at Polygon, Nick Robinson. I think I've read some of his articles before and I wanted to punch him. He has a shaven head on the sides and a big, long bang piece that swoops over his eye. You know the type. Anyway, he made some innocent tweets, in my opinion, because I'm going to defend the guy when I think something he says isn't that necessarily insane. No offense, but anyone who acts like they didn't jack off to Crystal from Star Fox Adventures is lying to you. Okay, a little creepy. He's jacking off to a cartoon character. Whatever. Free world. And Feminist Frequency replied, nobody in our office feels that way about Crystal. In fact, we find her character deeply disappointing. Here's why. And then they link to a video probably saying that the character's sexist because she shows her boobs or something like that, right? Now she replies more, she's literally trapped in a crystal. Finding a female character who is damseled and stripped of her agency arousing is kind of gross, to be honest. Because women never get in trouble, guys. Did you know that? Did you know that most like abductions or murders or, when people are missing or in trouble, none of those are ever women. Ever. Like, women cannot have anything bad happen to them. We have this, like, power. And I mean, I should really be using this more, but, like, I can just ward off all evil. And I'm never in distress. So anytime you show anything about a woman in distress, it's bad. I just want to make that was clear because, I mean, I'm learning a lot from Feminist Frequency. Anyway, attitudes like this are indicative of just how male-dominated gamer culture remains. Newsflash, we don't care about your boners. Of course you don't, because you're probably all a bunch of lesbians. which is cool too. My sister's a lesbian, but she also can laugh at a dude saying that he finds a character hot and beats off to it because it's a silly notion. It's a character. And unless you're like really into that, which I know some people are, he's probably just being tongue in cheek. He's really not I don't know. Maybe he really is jacking off. I don't know. But anyway, I got to defend the guy. Like, I don't think there's anything sexist about what he's saying. Like, we've taken men to the point, and it's no wonder why so many of them are so effeminate. We've taken them to the point where they can't even compliment a woman in real life and say she looks nice. Now they say, essentially, this video game character is attractive to them and looks nice, and they're called evil as well. So they want to strip men of all sexuality. But women, you don't have to do that. Women can say anything they want. Okay? It's this big swing that's happening. In the past, men could tout about sexuality. If women did it, they were whores, right? Now, all of a sudden, it's cool for women to be powerful and strong and outspoken about sexuality and stuff like that. That should be celebrated. But if men say anything, even that they find a woman attractive, look at what happened to Steve Martin with Carrie Fisher. He said she was a beautiful creature, but he also went on to say she was intelligent and witty and whatever else he said about his friend. You know, and everybody piled on top of him and said, how dare you say she was a beautiful... Like, we're getting to the point where I don't know, I'm lucky that I'm a little bit older, but the younger male generation, it's like they're being stripped of anything at all that makes them masculine. It's like anything masculine at all is seen as wrong. Rescuing a woman, wrong. Being attracted to a woman, wrong. It's no wonder why they all are starting to dress like women and act like women, but it's weird. And I feel bad for them because, you know, it won't be long before that these social justice warrior types all start turning on themselves because you can never please them. Any joke, any sort of anything that shows at all any sort of personality or sexuality, if you're a dude, is just going to get shunned. So that's unfortunate. I can't even go look at that Feminist Frequency's Twitter feed because I'm sure it's just enough to make me want to put a bullet in my head and literally would get in a lot of Twitter fights with them, and I would probably be banned from Twitter, and I don't even want to open that can of worms. So whatever goes on over there, I'm sure it's a lot worse than that, but that was just something I saw over on Kotaku in Action Reddit, which I recommend you follow. And yeah, it was annoying. Somebody linked in the VGO Reddit over on reddit.com/VGO podcast, I believe, was that murder in virtual reality should be illegal. So this is kind of frightening because to me, like, is it a slippery slope? What do they mean by that? Any virtual reality game where you kill people, is that going to suddenly be seen as illegal? I don't think anything in the virtual world should be illegal. That's just how I feel. I mean, with the exception of some really weird stuff that I don't want to even talk about, I'm sure, you know, but most things in the virtual world should be private. Nobody should know what you're looking at. And there's a whole other big case going on with internet privacy and stuff. I don't even want to open up that can of worms. But nobody should know what you're browsing. Nobody should know what you're doing. Nobody should know what you're watching. Nobody should know what you're playing. And, you know, especially making certain activities illegal in the virtual world is unfortunately where we might be going, you know, in the far off distant future. So, I don't know. They're trying to quote statistics, which of course have weird I was a psych major, so I know how studies work and different variables and how you can pick and choose, you know, quotes that sound like they fit the narrative you're trying to spin. Students who played violent games for just 20 minutes a day were more aggressive and less empathetic than those who didn't. Really? How did you come to those conclusions? Okay. I'd like to see your research and your data on that. I want hard, cold facts because we all know that's bullshit. Okay? Because welcome to society where people play video games more than ever, the youth. And the youth is, I would say, I'm not even going to call them empathetic because that's a compliment, but they are so concerned with, obviously, social justice causes. And obviously that seems to go in contrast with people who play games. Now, I don't know. I don't remember Charles Manson ever mentioning Grand Theft Auto. And, you know, I have played games since I was a kid, and I've never been violent towards anybody in my life. Maybe an ex-boyfriend. I remember in college, I threw a notebook at his foot. He pissed me off. I chucked a notebook at his foot. I was like, you're retarded. So yeah, that's my most violent outburst. other than screaming at John on Video Game Outsiders when he's being a Nintendo fanboy. But it's just stupid that they're trying to once again correlate violent behavior with video games. And believe me, there's a lot more things that drive people to violence. Probably reading Feminist Frequency's tweets. I would think that would probably drive somebody to violence. Not that you should. I'm not saying you should be driven to violence. I'm just saying you may want to like punch a wall after reading them. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Sane Gamer. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any subjects you want me to talk about, go ahead and tweet them to me at Coastal Michelle, follow and all that crap. Comment under this wherever you happen to see it posted, or read it or listen to it, whatever. I appreciate the feedback, and we will see you next time.